All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eaton fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Junior show. The Jesse Jackson Junior show. The Jesse Jackson Junior show. The Jesse Jackson Junior show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Today we are live from Richmond, Virginia. Yesterday I drove 13 hours to get to Richmond, Virginia. I will be here for most of the week, driving back to Chicago sometime after the show on Thursday, and we will have our show on time on Friday afternoon right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Spencer Lee Jr., a close and dear friend of mine who handled the memorial services of my father, will begin his transition processes with the same kind of dignity that he afforded my family. This coming Thursday, he will lie in state at the Leak Funeral Homes. On Friday, there will be a family private service at the Trinity United Church of Christ. And on Saturday, the same place that my father's final services were held, he will be memorialized and funeralized at the House of Hope on the south side of Chicago. The outpouring of concern for his wife, Donna, his parents, both of whom are in their late 80s and early 90s, to have to endure the idea of burying a son. It just couldn't get more difficult than that. And so life, as we have been taught and as we know, is filled with swift transitions. And so I will be in Chicago on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for Spencer's services, and then en route to Los Angeles sometime next week for the 5th anniversary of KBLA Talk 1580. At this hour, our prayers are with the Leak family, and very much looking forward to returning to the city of Chicago to commemorate, to celebrate, to share love with that family in honor of his life. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and therefore Ernest Krim, our regular contributor, Emmy-nominated producer, public teacher, anti-racist educator, hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate through a culturally equitable lens. Mr. Krim, South Side of Chicago native and University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana graduate, is a former high school history teacher and educator of 12 years, who now also advocates for social justice issues and teaches Black history to the world through social media with a platform that reaches roughly 4 million people each month. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Moving Mountain Monday.
Hey, what's up, brother? It's good to be here with you again.
Brother, I am so glad that you are here because one of the issues that, parents who have experienced the graduation of their children in 2026, many of these young people are now home. Many of them are either preparing to go to college in the fall, a very different environment than it was just a year ago. For those who are graduating, of course, some of our young people are looking for things to do. And in the city of Chicago, we are experiencing something called teen takeovers, which are, of course, drawing the ire of the politicals in the city of Chicago, and as well tourists who might come to Chicago, with the way in which the stories are being covered and projected to the world about our city. But I'm also thinking in this moment, Ernest, and no one would know this better, that when one looks at the current state of the federal budget, we have about a minute and a half before we come forward, Ernest, food insecurity has got to be a problem for young people in the classroom. Ernest, can you kick us off with that and let us come forward for a broader conversation on food insecurity for our nation's children?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that's always been interesting about being an educator is you're expected to, of course, compile a list of rules every year for your students. And usually on that general list of rules, there will contain one that says no eating in the class. And I was the type of educator that was always flexible with that because, and as we'll talk about throughout the hour, you soon learn that you can't teach a child while that child is hungry. And if we get to that baseline with many of the issues we face today, I think that helps us resolve the issues that our kids are facing in this moment.
I think that's right. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. The federal government is cutting back on programs that benefit children, and in some cases, either is the only programs where the children themselves get a meal while they attempt and try to learn. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 right here when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it.
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God.
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man.
Dell PCs with Intel inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. For the time you forgot your charger at the gate,
Passengers, we are now on our initial ascent.
or when you're bouncing between projects like a ping pong ball. We build PCs with long-lasting battery life, so you're not scrambling for an outlet. And built-in intelligence, so you can stay focused on whatever you're doing. Dell Technologies, built for you. Dell.com/Dell PCs.
Meet Matthew Preston. Inside his apartment, everything he holds dear is protected by Progressive's renter's insurance, like his laptop and a surprisingly valuable collection of baseball bobbleheads. Outside his apartment, his laptop is still protected, as are his bobbleheads, which he carries around with him for reasons no one knows. Renters, the limits of protection aren't just the four walls of your home. When you're in Progressive's Protection Zone, get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays, and we are in Mr. Krim's classroom. Ernest, welcome forward to the show.
Well, thanks again for having me, brother.
Ernest, when I think theologically and biblically, before Jesus could deliver the Sermon on the Mount, he had to feed the hungry crowd with fish sandwiches. He moved great mountains, great seas, great oceans, and great waters to pull together yeast, to pull together fish, high protein, so that the people themselves would not just be hungry, but they could hear through any physical need for food that they had. Ernest, why is that so important from the perspective of a teacher?
I think one of the most important things to consider is that nationally, we know that a little more than 1 out of every 4 Black children live in food insecure households as of about 2023 or so. And I think when I consider even my experience teaching in the Chicago area, I saw that at a much higher rate. And you cannot teach people, you cannot tell people what they should be doing, whether it be educationally or politically, if they haven't had their basic needs met. And when I speak to, educators and people across the country, I always kind of bring that up too. When we're talking about behavior with our kids, or, these so-called takeovers that our kids are involved in, we have to think of the baseline needs that all people have to have. And, for me, I'm a breakfast person. I don't know about you, Jesse, but like when I wake up, I can't think correctly unless I have my coffee and I have some food. And until then, I can't have a serious conversation with you. Like the days when I'm most frustrated are the days when I've had to skip meals, or if I had to like inadvertently fast until like lunchtime or something like that, right? So considering that climate in the midst of having a president who's taken away SNAP funding for, our kids and kids all across the country, this is going to have a more deleterious impact, because according to statistics, we know that kids who suffer from food insecurity have lower rates of academic achievement, are more prone to act out. And then what does that balloon to? That's my concern. What does that become when they graduate? Because we're cool. We're like anxious to say we've raised the graduation rates and we've had the kids do this much better academically. But when they graduate, those same problems then become problems for society if we aren't creating systems that are able to feed them in more ways than one. It's food for thought for a reason, bro. Like I cannot think correctly until I have some food.
Ernest, I've bumped into teachers and I've spent time with teachers, including but not limited to in South suburban Fort Heights, where I spoke at the 8th grade graduation just a few short weeks ago, where the teachers themselves have suggested that without the school lunch program or whatever form of supplemental nutrition they receive in the morning, in many cases, it is the only meal that those children have every single day. Has that been your experience as a teacher?
Oh, for sure. Now, as someone who taught through the pandemic and 1 year after the pandemic, when we went back to class, that was what our administrators' work consisted of during the pandemic, because there was a concern that our children wouldn't eat. And you think about this, if you have kids who come to school on time, they can get breakfast at school, they'll get lunch at school, you know what I'm saying? So like, and if they're in an activity, you might have a coach that's providing some type of food or snack. So that's 2/3 of your meal. Some kids are getting it free, some in a reduced capacity, but that could be the only thing they eat. And I saw during that pandemic, so many educators in my school district and in various other places across the country essentially turn into food distributors, because our kids still needed access to food. And you think about even now seeing the long lines around, the churches and different places that are providing food through food pantries. This isn't just something that's impacting the kids. Our kids are food insecure because their parents are, quite frankly, and their parents are working full-time jobs, and they can't even provide for their family working 40 plus hours a week. And that's one of the core issues we still face here.
Now, I believe this is a national issue. I don't think it's just the South Side of Chicago. I don't think it's just Crenshaw. I think in rural areas as well, in parts of America that we don't often frequent, even though in these rural counties, they may be responsible for growing food or producing food or curating meats that ultimately end up on our tables during the school day. The statistics are showing that even children in rural areas where food is produced, it doesn't necessarily equal a meal during school hours. Am I correct?
Oh, for sure. And I think I was in a position where, fortunately for me, I was able to teach kids who were in all of these positions. So I saw various walks of life, from rural settings to urban and suburban as well. And you think about the fact that even if we speak in terms of our situation, Black folks over the course of the 1900s had 90% of their farmland taken away through various measures politically, right? So, but that doesn't just impact us. If we know it's 90% for us, imagine what it could be like for the broader society too. These farms that we see, that we drive past on these back roads oftentimes, whether we be on road trips or whatever, these aren't owned by families like they used to a generation ago. These are owned by large corporations, right? So that, and so we aren't in a society now where we, like my family coming from Mississippi, right? Coming from Florida. My grandparents grew up with farms in their backyards, with chickens in the backyard. And now here we are. I was watching a TikTok the other day, brother, like There was somebody who went viral because she was explaining how she did not realize that the lemons growing on her tree in the backyard were edible, that she can just pull them from the tree and eat them. That's how disconnected we are from food. You know, like when I think about when we talk about the corner store issues we've been having in our community with lack of ownership and things like that, it's easier for us to go to a corner store and buy, you know, some grape flavored pop, or, you know, a frosted honey bun, or fruit flavored chips, as opposed to being able to actually find fresh produce. Man, I saw this brother, and again, this millennial TikTok, he's talking about breadfruit. And I was flabbergasted, man. I'm like, what is breadfruit? And I think about just like how we are fed this steady diet of if we have access to fruit, it's the same things. They all look the same. When I went to about a month ago, I'm in Toronto, and I had some fruit at the hotel, seeds everywhere. I was talking to a sister there, and I told her how amazed I was, and she could not believe that I was astonished that their fruit had seeds. So this is a problem that we all face as Americans throughout the country. When is the last time y'all have been able to buy a seeded grape? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Let me make a corollary here. If it is nearly impossible to teach a student to learn while the child is hungry, is it a comparable corollary, and this is a pivot, to ask a man or woman to vote, or to teach them to vote, and they are still hungry, that they can actually learn anything or remember anything about who they are voting for and why they're voting? This question of hunger isn't just in the classroom, it's also in the broader society. Am I correct on that, Ernest?
Oh, for sure. I think that is also why so many times in the last several elections, you'll have people whose reference point to who to vote for might be contingent upon, or might be based on who they felt like gave them cash, or who they felt like allowed them to have more money in their pockets. Because at the end of the day, having the opportunity to discuss these issues right here is a privilege, right? Being able to have the time to research these things is a privilege. But for a lot of folks who might be working 10, 12-hour shifts, right, all day, like if the gas is going up, my immediate inclination is to say whoever's in office right now is to blame for that. If I don't have as much money in my pocket, my immediate inclination is going to be to blame the person who's in office, better for worse, right? If my money is not able to go as far at the grocery store. So these are basic needs. When you talk about across the board, what we all generally care about is we're talking economic issues. Who's going to allow me the best opportunity to literally and figuratively feed myself and feed my family? For example, I mean, there's no reason why in this country, as we come towards the 250th birthday of this nation, that we should have veterans, for example, struggling to this degree, or on the side of the roads begging for shelter and food when we live in a nation such as this.
The producer of the Jesse Jackson Jr. show shared with me that she was in a line driving through Starbucks the other day. And obviously it was a long line because she had time to sit there and observe an individual, a grown man, climb into a dumpster looking for food and taking a bite out of food that was discarded. She pulled her car over, she parked, and she said, "Brother, listen, I got $5 for you. Let's get you something to eat." He said that he was grateful. He said he didn't want to climb through a dumpster looking for food, but that he was hungry. Now, this was a grown man, this was not a child, in a school, in a learning environment, being asked to be responsive to the idea of an American dream, that somehow their lives are going to be better at the end of all of their education than their parents were by the time they are entering the workforce. This is a grown man who, within the last week, was climbing through a dumpster looking for food. The same grown man and the same adult that many of us are asking to vote in the midterms, to participate in the process. And I can only imagine from that brother's perspective, the answer to the question is, why should I vote? Ernest?
Wow.
Have you ever had a student ever say, why should I learn? I'm hungry. And what you're teaching me isn't going to address what's going on in my stomach right now.
Oh, for sure. Going back to the opening comments I made about this issue, this reminds me of the school to prison pipeline conversation, because just how that man could be punished. He could be criminalized for going through the trash or for outside asking for money. We are expected as educators, and I'm sure many educators who are listening now across the country can attest to this. You are not expected to allow kids time to have a snack in class or time to eat in class, or even provide them with something if you have, a classroom set of maybe bars or protein bars or something like that on the side, because the chief focus is getting those test scores up. The chief focus is getting those kids, across the stage for graduation. And it reminds me so much of how in society it's the same thing. We're coming up on Juneteenth. That General Order 3 said that you, as newly freed Black folks, are not expected to be idle. You're expected to stay where you are and work. So it's almost viewed as a crime to be out of work in the richest nation in the world that is taking away the opportunity to work. I've had kids where it would be, to them, I could be making money right now. Why am I sitting in your class and my family can't eat? And who am I to tell them that they're wrong? Because I can only tell them that even though I believe this education is a worthwhile investment, there is a delayed gratification to that. So
there are teachers like you who see the problem. I mean, they see it every day. The fact that some of our parents let their children come to school every single morning hungry. Some of them not in a position to make sure their children have a decent meal. So they end up needing candy, needing sugar, getting something from a friend, maybe a half a sandwich from someone who did come to school with a lunch bag, something to eat. But then on the other hand, there are children who are sitting there who are hungry, and the rest of their day is trying to find something to eat and even remember what it was that you taught in the classroom. That's a reality for these kids, isn't it, Ernest?
Oh, yes, indeed. And even to that point, I'm sure we could talk about this when we come forward even more in depth. When these kids do get food, it's not as if they're eating the healthiest food, because when they get to school, you'll have somebody that's selling Flamin' Hots and Fruities and Chewies. So your body's yearning for water and vegetables and fruit, but what's available to you is some of the things that are actually worse for your health.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It is Monday, June the 8th at 3:29 on the East Coast. It is 2:29 Central and 12:29 on the West Coast. We will be in Los Angeles for the 5th anniversary of KBLA Talk 1580 towards the latter part of next week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're on Moving Mountain Mondays with Ernest Krim. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump abruptly ended a taped Meet the Press interview on NBC after being challenged on election fraud claims and his DOJ weaponization fund.
The one-sided crooked network. So let's call it quits, because I've had enough.
Moderator Kristen Welker pressed him for evidence after Trump claimed California officials were cheating in the primary. President Trump is weighing in on the Los Angeles mayor's race after Republican reality TV star Spencer Pratt appears to have fallen short. With votes still being counted, Democrat Nithya Raman is expected to face Black incumbent Mayor Karen Bass in November. And rapper Snoop Dogg helped open the new Long Beach Amphitheater in California over the weekend, headlining the first show at the 11,000-seat waterfront venue near the Queen Mary cruise ship. The temporary theater could lead to a permanent venue, with rappers like Lil Wayne and Nas and The Roots also set to perform this summer. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Make this summer one to remember at MGM Grand Las Vegas. Lounge by the pool, Catch world-class entertainment, indulge in unforgettable dining, and experience the energy only MGM can deliver. Plan your Vegas escape today at MGMRewards.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
We're going to find out if the San Antonio Spurs are mentally tough. The atmosphere for Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden and around New York City will be electric and intense. Knicks fans have been celebrating in the streets after the Knicks won the first 2 games in San Antonio. Are the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama up for this challenge? Only 5 teams in the history of the NBA playoffs have come back from an 0-2 deficit to win the title. The Spurs do have some confidence in New York. They were not blown out in the first 2 games. The Spurs had a 1-point lead with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter in Game 1 before the Knicks pulled away. In Game 2, Wembanyama missed a game-winning shot at the buzzer. The Spurs lost by 1. We'll see if the close outcomes in Games 1 and 2 have an impact on the Spurs tonight. 5 p.m. tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. Let's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. It's high time that we say the quiet part out loud about what we consider a disgrace, an absolute disgrace to the people of South Los Angeles. Destination Crenshaw, or as I call it, Procrastination Crenshaw, was supposed to be a 1.3-mile celebration of Black Los Angeles. Pocket parks, commissioned art, a cultural corridor along Crenshaw Boulevard, stretching from our studios in Leimert Park down to Nipsey Hussle Square. It was set to complete in 2022. That's right, 2022. We are now in 2026, and the Crenshaw community is still waiting. A grand opening was announced for February 2024. That date passed with not a single artwork installed. Then we were promised that construction would be completed by the end of 2024. That date came and went. Our understanding is that as of last fall, the 8th Council District Office was still scrambling to raise additional monies just to restart the project, which has been paused again and again. But here's what makes my blood boil. City officials had the nerve to tell this community the delays are, quote, a necessary inconvenience, close quote. A necessary inconvenience? First of all, who are you talking to? Second, go tell that to the Black business owners who have been coping with construction chaos, breathing dust, enduring years of road closures, and the scarcity of available parking, confronting unsanitary conditions, losing customers and revenue, all while the project they were promised still sits unfinished. They wouldn't let a project sit this long in any other part of this city. And for what it's worth, our elected official just happens to be the president of the LA City Council. Meanwhile, the city is laser focused on sprucing things up for the World Cup and the Olympics. Please, if this corridor were in Brentwood or Beverly Hills, it would have been completed on time, on budget, and on the cover of every magazine in town. The Crenshaw community deserves better. They deserve the truth, and they deserve what was promised to them. Now, right now, not when it's convenient, not when the cameras are rolling for the Olympics. Now, this isn't incompetence. This is a pattern. And at some point, neglect becomes a decision. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Moving Mountain Monday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In the next hour, The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Ford Owens and our special guest, Wayne Swanson, the owner and farming coach of Swanson Family Farms. We will continue this conversation about insecurity and the role that Black farmers have been playing in helping produce some of the highest quality food in the country. And I'm thinking in this moment with our very special regular contributor, Ernest Krim, that if you're listening to us on the 110, the 118, the 10, the 101, the 5, the 405, if you're listening to us, when you get home to your child, ask your child, one, have they ever been hungry at school? Just ask the question. Tell them to give you an honest answer. And then ask your child if they know of any of their classmates who are hungry while in school, who go without food, who don't want to talk about it, who don't share it publicly, but they are food insecure. But they're being asked to study, to write, to read, to participate in athletic programs with less protein in their bodies than the U.S. Department of Agriculture suggests should be in the average age of a child in a particular grade so that they can continue to grow and develop physically, mentally, as well as spiritually. It's almost impossible to do that without an egg and bacon sandwich or a ham sandwich, or some salad, or some fruit, or some food that provides the basic sustenance and the energy necessary to make it. How many children are actually in school and thriving simply off of energy drinks? A little bottle that you can get at the grocery store, or the pure cane sugar energy drinks that dominate all of the gas stations and their refrigerations just on the other side of the cash registers. How many of these children are living off of Fritos and Doritos? That's their basic meal and basic sustenance. And then we're asking them to be the best students that they can be against the backdrop of food insecurity. Ernest, a very difficult subject matter.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you made me think about how my lunch oftentimes, mainly in high school, consisted of Flamin' Hots and cheese, and how often I would come to school hungry, and it wasn't because we weren't able to afford it. It was oftentimes something I want to bring up is this term structural violence, a structure that's created, a system that's created to intentionally deprive people of the basic needs and necessities that they have to have. And schools function this way in a sense because not only are our kids coming hungry, but sometimes many of these schools, because they're trying to save money, because they don't have enough buses to operate on different schedules, kids have to start so early that by the time they can wake up, get ready, and get out the door to catch the bus, they have not had time to sit down and eat a proper meal. So sometimes it could be starvation that comes from not being able to afford. Other times it's if my child has to be at school 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they've been up texting all night or whatever it is, right? When do they even have time? So then for the first 3 or 4 classes of the day, they are coasting. Maybe they're acting out, or maybe they're just waiting until that lunch comes. And then when that lunch comes, is the food that's being provided, to your point, even healthy enough to sustain them, or is it something that's going to give them a crash? How can our kids have greater access to fast food establishments than healthy food? Why isn't both available? You know, I often think about how difficult it is. You know, we have to remind ourselves that food comes freely, right? Like fruit and vegetables, it comes freely from the earth. But we'd be hard pressed to find many people that have trees with fruit, for example. There are people I know that work at fast food establishments who would be punished for allowing their food to go to those in our community who are in need. And I think that we also have to keep in mind that schools offering breakfast and offering free breakfast and food in some circumstances is something that comes from our movements, something that the Black Panthers led, something that Black churches led. That was the thing that caused our government to say that we have to make sure this is available for all people. And if we look at, you know, sociologically, maybe Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we know was taken from indigenous tribal groups, at the baseline of that is having your physiological needs met, like food. So that's something.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ernest. I was going to just pick up on what you said. You know, there are some people in our community, not only do they not have food, they don't know how to eat. Some folk eat every meal standing up. They never have to sit down at the table. Never have to use a fork, a knife, a spoon. Don't know how to engage in a conversation around a meal by chewing and then swallowing and then washing food down so that you can have a conversation without having a mouth full of food while you're talking. I mean, we're just talking about getting something to eat.
Right.
But we're not even discussing the fact that some of us don't know how to eat. And we go to high school, we graduate from elementary school, graduate from high school, graduate from college, and never sat at a table to know where the fork is, where it's supposed to be, what knife you're supposed to. We don't know how to eat. And then when we're in a professional environment and people see us eating for the first time like we ain't never ate before, the consequences of that are so extraordinary for your future because of not having the base. Some of our parents don't know how to eat. So it's not even the best example that's being set.
Right.
Not only is the food not on the table, but when the food is on the table, it's, you know, slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. Lord, thank you for putting this food, amen, let's eat. And everybody starts reaching. I mean, there's no passing the food around the table. There's no full appreciation for the sustenance, the hands that prepared it, and how it got there.
Man, you know, we come from people who we center events and social gatherings around taking our time to be in community around food. You know, like people, we often joke around this concept of like CP time and everything, but it's truly because like we take our times with things like this. This is a process. Soul food, for example, we know the movie, like Sunday dinner, do we still have it? Do we still eat with our families? Like this is something, and you know, when you come over here, when you go over your grandma's house or whatever elder in your family that was cooking, you might go over there and still have to wait several hours for that food to finish. And she may have been cooking it since Friday and it's Sunday now. Like this is a process. Like, you know, when you go to certain restaurants in our community that are cooking soul food or whatever, it might say 15 minutes when you order it, but it might take an additional 30 because there's a process to this. But we are trapped in a society that rushes us. And I can attest to it, man. There's been times, brother, when every meal I ate until dinner time was standing up or in the car while I was driving. And that's sad.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Ernest, man, I appreciate your insights on where our young people are. And then we want to feed them with knowledge of our history and knowledge of our people so that they can make judgments and discern where they are going with an understanding of whence they've come. But it all started with something as basic as nourishment. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the classroom with Mr. Ernest Krim. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids Max Strength. Its dual-active formula has 1,500 milligrams of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaids spells powerful relief. 1,500 milligrams is our highest amount of antacid per tablet. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
LADWP customers get rebates up to $1,500 when you install a qualified electric vehicle charger at your home. It's like having a gas station in your garage. Get extra savings when you combine LADWP rebates with federal tax credits on chargers installed before June 30th. Visit ladwp.com/EV today and start saving. That's ladwp.com/EV. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-8991. 800-505-8991. 800-505-8991.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jackson Jr. Show. King Folly Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Mondays. Ernest Krem is our regular contributor, and we call the first hour on Monday Being in Mr. Krem's Classroom. He's created content for companies such as HBO, Hulu, Disney, Paramount, and the History Channel. Additionally, he's the CEO of Krem's Cultural Consulting Limited Liability Corporation, an international speaker who's spoken at Harvard, the University of Chicago, Microsoft, Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights, and audiences in the UK and Canada, an author of 2 books, and a passionate progressive education activist who's worked closely with organizations to advocate for educational and political equity, reparations, and mental health awareness. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Moving Mountain Mondays.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
So in the final analysis, Ernest, when we talk about children, it's not, I think it was Michael Harrington who wrote a book titled The Other America. And I believe after he wrote that book, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech titled The Other America. And in that book, The Other America, the late Michael Harrington, a Democratic socialist, said that in America, we have the best dressed poverty in the world. The best dressed poverty in the world. If I go through Mr. Krem's closet and I give his clothing to a secondhand store, or if Mr. Krem goes through my closet and gives my clothing to a secondhand store, whoever gets my suit at a secondhand store is probably going to be wearing a Brooks Brothers. It's not like they bought it fresh off the rack. They bought it at a secondhand store. But now they are the best dressed poor person wearing an old suit of Jesse Jackson Jr. or an old suit of Ernest Krem or an old suit of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. We've got a lot of dad's clothes that my mother is now trying to position and give away appropriately. But there are going to be some people walking around town looking just like Reverend Jesse Jackson when they get finished putting these suits on. But what's their reality? Their reality is they can't afford a mortgage. Their reality is they're head over heels in debt. They look good, sharp as a tack, great shoes, but they're hungry. Because we can't see beyond that which we literally see in front of us to discern whether or not the individual is both physically hungry, but also poor of spirit. That is, their spirit is hungering and longing for something else in ways that teachers see it differently. My dad often told the story of his grandmother, Matilda, and Helen Burns, who Tavis Smiley knew very well and knew them both very intimately, of how she would go without even going to church sometimes with one stocking on one leg because she wanted to be, quote, decent at church on Sunday morning with one stocking on one leg. But what she did not want was my father to go to school without a pair of trousers on and a shirt and a pair of shoes so that young children would not make fun of him. My dad was poor. A father who did not support him when he was growing up in segregation. He was poor. Dad was not poor in spirit. And by the grace of God, he made a way out of no way, and he became everything that we celebrate in the life of Jesse Jackson. But the reality is, he said it in the Democratic Convention speech, you can see the house I'm running to. You cannot see the house I'm running from. And in a real sense, our teachers on a daily basis see our children and the homes and the environments and the tables and the refrigerators that they are running from. Ernest?
You know, I think firstly, when I reflect briefly on your father again, I think about how he was able to unite so many people around these common issues that impact all Americans, because we can throw out so many statistics that of course would say that Black folks deal with it more in LA and Chicago and so on. But we have to always understand that if Black people are dealing with it, that means that it's an American problem. That means every community, is impacted by it. And I would challenge everyone out there that's a concerned citizen, especially if you are engaged in political activism, whatever it may be. When you go to your meetings, whether it be at church Sunday, whether it be Saturday, whether it be whatever, just make sure that it seems simple, but just make sure that the people you are trying to connect with to get to vote, make sure they have a place to eat. They have regular meals coming in, because if not that, then why does any of this matter? Those are our basic physiological needs: food, water, shelter. And oftentimes, even going back to your point about our old clothing items, sometimes we'll cast judgment, right? I'm guilty. We're all guilty of it. Cast judgment based on how someone appears. And we can be so much in a rush, we don't often make time to really tend to the needs that people have, because we are all in this hamster wheel of a society. But we have to make sure that those basic needs are met, because hungry children become hungry adults. And if we think that people have less sympathy for our kids already, what type of sympathy or any empathy do they have for us as adults when we are struggling, like our producer did? That's the type of empathy you don't see on a regular basis. And I do want to, as my time concludes, I want to make sure, because when I was in the class, I would always, for me, again, I would have a drawer full of snacks for my kids, right? Especially that first period of the day. I'm going to have the granola bars and things of that nature. I'm going to bring some of those clementines, those cuties to have for kids to grab. So I want us to always be solution oriented as well. We know this is a big problem, but I would also tell you that for anybody that's listening right now, we know that there are so many of us in our community that are providing solutions that our governments, quite frankly, should be, but we are out there. So I strongly encourage you all to connect with local farmers, local food pantries that are doing this work. I can give you off the top of my head, Black Farmers Index is a great resource to check out to find local Black farmers, because whether we realize it or not, this is going to be something that impacts us all. Even if you can afford your groceries easily, you're all noticing that grocery bill go up, right? We're seeing those items that used to cost $3 now cost $6, now cost $7, now cost $8. So we're all impacted. So get in tune with your local farmers, Black Farmers Index. For those in Chicago, in that area, I would say definitely look up my brother Dion's Chicago Dream. They're passing out fresh produce around the city all the time. For my people in LA, I'm looking at West Side Food Bank. I'm looking at another organization called Food Forest, organization called Not Us Without You LA. We are here to provide services for people, but we have to make sure that they are aware. And before we move forward, we got to make sure that all of our people are fed.
Proud of you, Ernest. Proud of you. Proud of this conversation. And if you're going to school or preparing to go to school, take some canned goods. Just slide your classmates, need something to eat, some canned goods. Nothing rotten, just something, a can of soup, a couple of canned goods. Take an extra sandwich to class. Treat your friend to something to eat. They're hungry. And not just poor in terms of financial, poor of spirit and poor of concern that people aren't caring for them. Every time you offer a man a fish sandwich or something to eat, I promise you they'll never forget it. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on Moving Mountain Mondays and KBLA Talk 1580 with Reverend Dr. Terry Hort Owens and the Swansons when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump abruptly ended a taped Meet the Press interview on NBC after being challenged on election fraud claims and his DOJ weaponization fund.
The one-sided crooked network. So let's call it quits, because I've had enough.
Moderator Kristen Welker pressed him for evidence after Trump claimed California officials were cheating in the primary. President Trump is weighing in on the Los Angeles mayor's race after Republican reality TV star Spencer Pratt appears to have fallen short. With votes still being counted, Democrat Nithya Raman is expected to face Black incumbent Mayor Karen Bass in November. And rapper Snoop Dogg helped open the new Long Beach Amphitheater in California over the weekend, headlining the first show at the 11,000-seat waterfront venue near the Queen Mary cruise ship. The temporary theater could lead to a permanent venue, with rappers like Lil Wayne and Nas and The Roots also set to perform this summer. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Make this summer one to remember at MGM Grand Las Vegas. Lounge by the pool, catch world-class entertainment, indulge in unforgettable dining, and experience the energy only MGM can deliver. Plan your Vegas escape today at MGMRewards.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
We're going to find out if the San Antonio Spurs are mentally tough. The atmosphere for Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden and around New York City will be electric and intense. Knicks fans have been celebrating in the streets after the Knicks won the first 2 games in San Antonio. Are the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama up for this challenge? Only 5 teams in the history of the NBA playoffs have come back from an 0-2 deficit to win the title. The Spurs do have some confidence in New York. They were not blown out in the first 2 games. The Spurs had a 1-point lead with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter in Game 1 before the Knicks pulled away. In Game 2, Wembanyama missed a game-winning shot at the buzzer. The Spurs lost by 1. We'll see if the close outcomes in Games 1 and 2 have an impact on the Spurs tonight. 5 p.m. tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap, and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eaton fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm live in Richmond, Virginia today. Took a walk earlier today down the James River, the river known for the importation of slaves. Quite a series of developments that are taking place in Richmond, Virginia, right along that water. It's really, really beautiful. But to see the integration of old homes, old buildings, old architecture that were definitely here during the Civil War, and the integration of them architecturally into modern structures are nothing short of fascinating. Remember, it was here in Richmond, Virginia, that the Confederacy called this place its capital until such time as Mr. Grant and Mr. Sherman, under the leadership of Abraham Lincoln, the Confederacy on the run. So was Robert E. Lee, until, of course, the war ended at Appomattox. The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Teresa Terry Hord Owens is our regular contributing show on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA in the second hour. Reverend Terry Hord Owens is a native of Terre Haute, Indiana, a descendant of one of Indiana's oldest African-American free settlements. She earned her bachelor's degree in government with a minor in African-American studies from Harvard University. She earned a master's of divinity degree at the University of Chicago Divinity School, where she was a disciple, divinity house scholar, and recipient of the John Gray Rind Award given to the top MDiv graduate at the Divinity School. Reverend Terry Hord Owens is the general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, in the United States and Canada. She's an author and advocate for the church living out its calling. She is the first person of color and the second woman to lead this amazing denomination. In keeping with the disciples' historic commitment to Christian unity, she serves in leadership at the National Council of Churches as the treasurer of the governing board and a member of the World Council of Churches Central Committee. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, thank you, sir. It's so good to be with you again.
Madam President, with Ernest Krim in the first hour, we had a fairly fascinating conversation about food insecurity for young people. And scripturally, we touched upon the idea that before Jesus could deliver the Sermon on the Mount or speak to the multitudes, that fish sandwiches were in order because the congregants might not have been in a position to hear unless they were experiencing some carbohydrates and some protein to address them physically, so that they might be able to withstand and to understand and to digest, if you will, the spiritual message that Jesus was trying to convey. Madam President, your thoughts on the nourishment crisis in our country and in our world?
I think that idea that people's physical needs needed to be addressed was so central to Jesus's own ministry. And it wasn't as though he, I always say, Jesus didn't send out town criers saying, "Come one, come all, revival at 6 p.m. on the banks of the of the Sea of Galilee." He ministered as he went along. There are other situations where he provided food. He changed water to wine so that there would be enough, right, at a wedding. And the very idea, but Jesus also told the disciples, you gather the food, and what do you have? He asked, what do you have? And from there, Jesus worked the miracle, insisting that we be a part of ensuring that everyone had enough. But Jesus always fed people before he taught them, and never ignored physical needs. And that was an important part of his liberation gospel. One of our ministers, Governor Andy Beshear, who is a member of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, always actually says, let's just say people are hungry. We talk about food insecurity, and it's a difficult kind of situation, but we have to be really clear in naming that people are hungry, and in naming that we are always commanded, because of love of God and love of neighbor, to ensure that people are not hungry. And what can we do? What do we have to address that? And there are some of us who believe that if we do that, then God can continue to work in miraculous ways. But we have to start with what do we have?
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, The Faith Not the Fall, with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. More when we come forward, right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it.
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Dell PCs with Intel inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. For the time you forgot your charger at the gate,
Passengers, we are now on our initial ascent.
or when you're bouncing between projects like a ping pong ball. We build PCs with long-lasting battery life, so you're not scrambling for an outlet. And built-in intelligence, so you can stay focused on whatever you're doing. Dell Technologies, built for you. Dell.com/Dell PCs.
Meet Matthew Preston. Inside his apartment, everything he holds dear is protected by Progressive's renter's insurance, like his laptop and a surprisingly valuable collection of baseball bobbleheads. Outside his apartment, his laptop is still protected, as are his bobbleheads, which he carries around with him for reasons no one knows. Renters, the limits of protection aren't just the four walls of your home. When you're in Progressive's Protection Zone, get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and we are in The Faith Not the Fall with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the show.
Oh, good to be with you, Jesse, as always.
Reverend Owens, in this hour, we have a very special guest in Mr. Wayne Swanson. Swanson Family Farms, LLC, was established in March of 2008 as a small farm where Wayne Swanson could raise food for his family and friends. Wayne grew up in Woodbury, New Jersey, just a few miles from a 10-acre farm with his grandparents. Claude and Artie raised 18 children. The lessons learned from his parents and grandparents planted the seeds for everything Swanson Family Farm is today, and will be in the future. Today, Wayne proudly provides pasteurized raised meats sourced from some of the best farms in the Southeast. Each farm has been personally vetted to ensure they meet the highest standards of sustainability and regenerative farming practices. By partnering with these trusted farmers, Wayne brings his community premium beef, chicken, pork raised with care and respect for the land. Mr. Swanson, welcome forward to the Faith Not the Fall, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with Reverend Terry Hord Owens.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
You know, I'm so grateful that you're here, Brother Swanson. In part, I had a conversation with my younger brother, who is now the president and CEO of the Rainbow Push Coalition. They have their conference coming up this week. Hillary Clinton will be there, and Pete Buttigieg was there, will be there this coming week. And Yusuf was sharing with me, Reverend Owens, that he had to speak yesterday in 5 different churches.
Wow. And
he said that he had to feed them something a little different than what he was accustomed to, having primarily been a business person.
Right.
But then I reminded him, Brother Swanson, that on Saturday morning, my father fed the people who were listening to him speak breakfast, and then he fed them lunch at the end of the program. Over the course of his life, he delivered thousands of bags of groceries per Thanksgiving holiday season. Thousands of bags of groceries during the Christmas season. My dad never forgot the days when he was growing up on Thanksgiving and Christmas where there were no bags of groceries. Mr. Swanson, why the family farming business?
It starts with your own. You got charity starts at home. So if you can feed yourself, and when I say feed yourself, I don't mean that you never have to go to a store. But what we want to do is severely take chunks out of that bill. And as you build your skill set in food, you are going to eliminate the need to go to the grocery store except for luxury items. Now, that doesn't mean everyone. Somebody's a better accountant than I am, but I can raise ground beef for them and they can do my taxes or they can do my books. So we've kind of gotten away from community and regional food processing. And that's where we're interested in. What your dad did was community based, because at the time he was doing that, we still had some production facilities. We still had access to Black-owned grocery stores. We still had access to Black-owned distributors that could take the knocked and scratched and dented boxes that was still good food, but could put it to good use because the average consumer would not want it. And that's what we're building at Swanson Family Farm, a regional hub. I can't grow it all anymore. So I had to go find some folks that believe like I believe, and we're talking biblically. God didn't make any mistakes. He created these animals to eat grass, to eat forage, to eat in the woods, to be in the woods. And that's what we do. We replicate it. They weren't designed to sit and eat loaves of bread and these other things that are put in the food. We want to give you what God intended for you to have. So it's going to be smaller. It's going to have a different color. It may be even cut a little bit differently because it's handcrafted the way it was when our grandparents did it.
Reverend Terry Hord Owens, on the south side of Chicago, when I was growing up, I remember Daryl Grisham and Parker House sausage. I remember Joe Louis when I was 3 and 4 and 5 years old. Joe Louis, the heavyweight champion of the world. Joe Louis milk on the south side of Chicago. We were, many of us, of course, I was too young to remember, had come out of these agricultural communities in the South, found ourselves in the urban environment, and now the Swansons are saying we're going to have to recapture the quality of that which we place in our bodies on a very different scale than what is being hand delivered to us in the grocery stores. Madam President.
Right. You know, I grew up in Southern Indiana, and my maternal grandparents had 10, 12 acres that my younger cousin now owns now. And I don't remember having a steak that was purchased from the store until I was probably in high school, maybe going to prom. And my grandparents grew all their fruits and vegetables. My grandfather grew beef, and raised beef, and he was able to provide beef for his 5 daughters and their families. And my cousin is trying to do that. So I totally appreciate what it is that you're doing here. And there were people in Indianapolis, people in our church in Indianapolis, former track athlete at IU, Reverend Jimmy Smith, who owned a local grocery store. We had those grocery stores, but I have personal experience with my grandparents providing, and I would still, even after I was out of college and had moved to Chicago, I would go home and get bushels and baskets of corn and tomatoes and peppers and all those things, and I would still get meat from them. So he continued. He was in his early 90s when he passed, and he didn't really give that up until he was maybe 87. But my cousin is now training his young girls who have their own sort of roadside farm stand, and they're become little entrepreneurs, learning to care for the land, care for the animals. So it's a lost tradition, and I'm glad to see the work that you're doing that's reaching so many folks and creating these real cooperatives to help people, because those skills are what are needed. We need to, my daughter-in-law raises vegetables and herbs in her backyard, and that's a skill that generations have lost, I think.
What we do is we refer to ourselves as regenerational farmers. So we're 2 generations removed. The skills are there, but what we lost was not, we can grow things. We've lost the accounting techniques to bring a farm to production. We've lost the ability to get a product to market. Anybody can grow something for yourself. It's a completely different animal when we have to feed the thousands. And this is where our parents and grandparents had it, and we lost that. And we're going to bring it back.
If my dad were alive, because I remember picketing with my father, being dragged out to the picket line at 4 and 5 years old, picketing A&P and picking some of the large grocery chains because of the absence of Black products on their shelves and the consequences of that for those businesses that hired African Americans in the community work factor. I'm telling you, as sure as I'm sitting here right now, that if my father were alive today, he would get a meeting with Walmart, he would get a meeting with Jewel, he would get a meeting with Kroger's, and he would take you, Mr. Swanson, to that meeting so that your products could be Whole Foods, so that your product could be scaled in a distribution system that would allow you to realize the potential that your business truly represents in any environment. Now, that's not asking for welfare. That's asking for our participation in grocery stores and large chains that we already shop in. But if we are locked out systematically of that participation, Mr. Swanson, we can never truly be scaled to the size that we indeed belong. Mr. Swanson?
Brother Jackson, I'm going to tell you, we're not locked out of anything. We are our own entity. You think about how we've aggregated in city complexes. So we don't need Walmart. We need distribution channels. So what I've done is I've got with a gentleman who owns Black Reefer Trucking Line. It's a refrigerated trucking. And we can now put orders together for Indianapolis. We can put orders together for Newark, New Jersey. We can put orders together in the wintertime, west of Texas. It's hard to do a frozen product. So, but when we sell direct, our people get the money. We sell more maybe through Walmart or through Whole Foods, but we won't make as much on our venture. And what happens eventually in these relationships is they wait until we are quasi-dependent, and then they start refusing loads. You are a small operator. You can't afford a single thing to go wrong. That's how tight the margins are. But with your people, if there's something wrong, you can say, hey, all these tomatoes were dented, y'all. These are going to be great for stewed tomatoes. Who's up for stewed tomatoes? I got a ton of them. And you can get them through 3 or 4 different cities. You can't do that if you're going direct to somebody who wants your A quality product. They don't want the second harvest. They want the first harvest. So we have the networks here amongst ourselves to be multi-generational and to be wealthy, because every business that is a business in America touches agriculture.
That's a perfect segue. Then I'm going to turn it back over to the president because this is her show. So let me segue then. So how, if I were a rib joint on the south side of Chicago or in Crenshaw, or a chicken joint, and I can't begin to tell you just the number of African-American chefs that are emerging in many urban markets. They dominate social media. You've got these food critics and foodies who are going out, pumping up their commercials, packing people into how, if I were one of those entities, how would I get in touch with you to become let's say a retailer or someone who buys your product for the purposes of doing what I do best?
Easy. SwansonFamilyFarmLLC.com. We've got such a presence, you can Google it and we'll pop right up. But the question for our people I want you to ask is, do you want to only make money, or do you want to provide nutrient-dense food to our people? There is a difference. The nutrient-dense food is what we fed and what your dad and the Panthers did for the breakfast program. They fed those kids nutritious meals so that they could think. They didn't just feed them hot Cheetos and Takis and things like that. Some of the food that's on the market is the equivalent of hot Cheetos. When you're working with farms like me or farms like other farms, so you're providing a nutrient-dense product. You won't have as much, but you'll have enough. And I always encourage, if you have a restaurant and you do a lot of ribs, you should find 10, 15 acres somewhere, find someone like me, put them in business in raising those ribs for you. And then those other products, what we call value-added products, allow them to sell those, or you find a market for them. But our buying power, I've witnessed it. I'm here because of it. Our buying power is second to none. And when you dig into our stories with Juneteenth coming up, nothing stopped our business districts outside of the end of desegregation and off-ramps. They ran an off-ramp through all of our financial hubs. That's what stopped us. It wasn't our businesses.
Madam President?
Yeah, that networking and distribution. Are there retail grocery stores? I mean, are your, describe your network. I'm assuming these are stores, these are meat distributors, they are chefs, etc.
I'll give you my direct example. So I'm also an investor, and I'm invested in a Black-owned grocery store here in Atlanta. And I think we're on our 5th, but it's small. So we're not trying to look successful. We're going to be successful.
Right.
And in being successful in certain areas, to get in certain communities, you got to have a smaller footprint. So we can make sure that our overhead is not going to kill us. So that we can make sure we don't have a disco ball. We don't need a disco ball. We need good freezers.
Right.
That means it may not be pretty, but it's going to be effective. So yes, we have grocery stores. We had schools that are training ag, and now we're starting to branch out. And what Swanson Family Farm is doing is we are about to open our own facility to cut meat, because I don't need to tell you or this audience that when a Black person takes their product in, you're not always getting your product back. So we need to have safe spaces where we can cut our product. And I can also teach people on what that mama cow that you bought in who was a little bonier, why she didn't yield as much, as opposed to you feeling like someone stole from you. I can show you what happened. If you follow me, you'll see us do a lot of pictures with the carcass, the product, and how we break it down so that you can see that. And we don't do fancy stuff. I'm not going to take a 2,000-pound animal and cut it up so it looks really good. That's not what you're going to get when you go to buy something. It's going to be 800 to 1,000 pounds. And I want you to see the real product. Yes.
I'm Jesse Jackson. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Reverend Terry Hord Owens and our very special guest, Mr. Wayne Swanson. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says the U.S. could work with Iran to destroy its highly enriched uranium if a deal is reached.
We'll take it out and destroy it.
Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, Trump said the two countries are very close to an agreement, but warned Iran could face more military action if talks fail. The Iowa Supreme Court says the University of Iowa cannot change how it distributes a privately funded scholarship intended for Black students. The donor's will specified the money should go to Black students majoring in the physical sciences. And Baltimore, Maryland's Safe Summer program is underway after Black Mayor Brandon Scott launched it at Druid Hill Park. The program includes community events and resources aimed at promoting peace and public safety. This year's theme is Breaking Chains, Chasing Change. Last year, Safe Streets held about 60 events, including block parties and school supply giveaways. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Make this summer one to remember at MGM Grand Las Vegas. Lounge by the pool, catch world-class entertainment, indulge in unforgettable dining, and experience the energy only MGM can deliver. Plan your Vegas escape today at MGMRewards.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
We're going to find out if the San Antonio Spurs are mentally tough. The atmosphere for Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden and around New York City will be electric and intense. Knicks fans have been celebrating in the streets after the Knicks won the first two games in San Antonio. Are the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama up for this challenge? Only 5 teams in the history of the NBA playoffs have come back from an 0-2 deficit to win the title. The Spurs do have some confidence in New York. They were not blown out in the first 2 games. The Spurs had a 1-point lead with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter in Game 1 before the Knicks pulled away. In Game 2, Wembanyama missed a game-winning shot at the buzzer. The Spurs lost by 1. We'll see if the close outcomes in Games 1 and 2 have an impact on the Spurs tonight. 5 p.m. tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. It's high time that we say the quiet part out loud about what we consider a disgrace, an absolute disgrace to the people of South Los Angeles. Destination Crenshaw, or as I call it, Procrastination Crenshaw, was supposed to be a 1.3-mile celebration of Black Los Angeles. Pocket parks, commissioned art, a cultural corridor along Crenshaw Boulevard, stretching from our studios in Leimert Park down to Nipsey Hussle Square. It was set to complete in 2022. That's right, 2022. We are now in 2026, and the Crenshaw community is still waiting. A grand opening was announced for February 2024. That date passed with not a single artwork installed. Then we were promised that construction would be completed by the end of 2024. That date came and went. Our understanding is that as of last fall, the 8th Council District Office was still scrambling to raise additional monies just to restart the project, which has been paused again and again. But here's what makes my blood boil. City officials had the nerve to tell this community the delays are, quote, a necessary inconvenience, close quote. A necessary inconvenience? First of all, who are you talking to? Second, go tell that to the black business owners who have been coping with construction chaos, breathing dust, enduring years of road closures and the scarcity of available parking, confronting unsanitary conditions, losing customers and revenue, all while the project they were promised still sits unfinished. They wouldn't let a project sit this long in any other part of this city. And for what it's worth, our elected official just happens to be the president of the LA City Council. Meanwhile, the city is laser focused on sprucing things up for the World Cup and the Olympics. Please, if this corridor were in Brentwood or Beverly Hills, it would have been completed on time, on budget, and on the cover of every magazine in town. The Crenshaw community deserves better. They deserve the truth, and they deserve what was promised to them. Now, right now, not when it's convenient, not when the cameras are rolling for the Olympics. Now, this isn't incompetence. This is a pattern. And at some point, neglect becomes a decision. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, KBLA Talk 1580. It's Monday, the faith not to fall with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. Our very special guest is Mr. Wayne Swanson, the proprietor of Swanson Family Farms Limited Liability Corporation. And I'm so grateful that both of you are joining us in this hour. I am live from Richmond, Virginia. I'll be here all week and then to Chicago for the memorial services of the late Spencer Leak Jr. and then off to Los Angeles for the 5th anniversary of KBLA Talk 1580, one of the few remaining African-American talk show radio stations in the entire United States. Grateful to Tavis Smiley for this amazing opportunity. Before we go forward, I did want to ask this question of Mr. Swanson because he's making nothing but sense to me, and I know he is going to be very successful in this venture because it's a kind of underground railroad for the growth and the distribution of our food. Well, why hasn't anyone else ever thought of that? Mr. Swanson.
I'm certain that it's been done. Yeah, I'm certain that it's been done. It's you have to be able to bring a product to market for consecutive years before you can scale it. And we've gotten so used to scaling products from China or products made somewhere else. We're doing this is a handcrafted boutique operation. If you are getting something grown in America, like what I love seeing right now is our watermelons in the South are going all over the country right now. You can't miss an exit where there's not a brother selling watermelon right now. Right. It's the same mindset. Yes, sir. We just want to put a little bit of structure to it. Get everybody back in so that they remember how to do a balance sheet. Right. Remember how to get to the cost of goods sold, because it's not just farming. We are gifted with the land. That's why they bought us here. We got to get back to the accounting piece of the farming. And how much does gas cost? And how do I factor that into what my price is? And those are the things that we're doing that are making us successful. Anybody can grow cows. Anybody can grow watermelon. But can you build a spreadsheet and have love for it? That, as you can tell, I can talk about this all day, every day.
Madam President?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our learning about these systems and these structures, ensuring that we have the ability to manage our resources so that we profit for them is what's really, really important. You think of, I think of generations of sharecroppers. Both of my in-laws grew up in sharecropping families in Mississippi, working year after year after year after year, never owning the land, never seeing any real value for their labor attached. I guess one of the questions I have is, we hear that farmers, these large farmers that have always had these large federal subsidies, et cetera, how do you see the economies, the inflation, oil, all of the things that we see that are hitting these big large commercial farmers? How is that impacting your network, and what are you doing to kind of insulate yourselves from those market forces, or can you, and to what degree?
Yes, great question, Reverend Owens. Thank you for that question. In farming circles, we refer to what you're referencing as inputs. How do we limit our inputs? And we go to what I said earlier, if we have a more regenerative process. So, in the simple thing is, we don't believe in leaving soil bare. Like when we were kids, we'd see the farmers would till up a whole field and it'd be pretty, like the dirt would be pretty, but it's destructive because you're bleaching and leaching off nutrients. Now we want to plant something that covers the crop. It's called a cover crop. That then brings you added value. And when you're off season, that cover crop can be grazed. So again, we're adding value. Now I can graze, which our grandparents all did. They all had an area where they had a garden. Yeah. And then they would put either that pig in there or that one cow or goat or something in there and graze it. They manure it. They let it rest for 90, 120 days. Then they come back and plant again. Those are the practices that we follow to save money. If you want to save money, work with Mother Nature. You want to lose money, tell her what you're going to do and see how fast she shows you who the boss is.
Yeah.
Mr. Swanson, let me ask you this question. As you know, African Americans have a history in agriculture. Why is it so difficult to recruit African Americans back to the idea of agriculture when, by definition, everybody's got to get something to eat? It might be the most lucrative way for growing our communities because somebody needs to eat something and families need to be fed every single day. What's taking us so long to get back to agriculture?
We believed the myths. Just like we talked about watermelon. When I was a kid, I'm 53. You couldn't eat watermelon around white folks. Right? I'm not the one. It was a stigma. It was a stigma for us. And when I hear people say things like, we ain't going back to picking cotton. Now, I understand the sentiment of what you're saying. But what you're missing is you own the field. You own the plant. Cotton is a plant. It does not have a soul or a spirit. It's a plant. But out of that plant, we could have owned our own genes 50, 60 years ago had we stayed with the cotton. And there's a brother in North Carolina, it's Black Cotton US. His family is 5th generation, and I had his shirt on. It's under here. I was doing it for, but it said Black Cotton, grown on Black soil, harvested by Black hands, and then negotiated with, I think he's with Van. We negotiated the deal to make these shirts. So we have to take the stigma away from cotton, like we've done with watermelon. Like, I don't care what anybody say. Any day you want to feed me fried chicken and watermelon, let's go. I like it. I'm going to love it. And I'm going to spit seeds off the porch.
And I believe in chitlins around the clock. So you ain't telling me nothing.
But so it's the stigma. And then we had to understand when they started attacking us as landowners, we already did our informal survey. I never met this sister before in my life. I already know somebody in her family has land. And I think that if we take an informal survey of the people in our closest circle, you will find all of us are 1 or 2 degrees removed from land. That may not be commercial viable land for farming, but it's 10, 15 acres that you have access to that you can reconnect to the soil if you want to. And we have to stop listening to people tell us that there are more Black people in jail than there are college graduates. We got to stop listening to that nonsense. We are in just the idea that a kid who grew up in the 80s didn't have to go to the corner store in the city because there were pear trees, plum trees, and grapevines all around. And that's all gone now. And we have to get back to that.
When we come forward, we'll have a final word of hope by Mr. Swanson and a couple more questions from our leader, the president of the Disciples of Christ Church, Reverend Terry Hort-Owens. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-8991. 800-505-8991. 800-505-8991.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The BLM Center for Black Power is a hub for Black activism in the city of Los Angeles, a standalone nonprofit affiliated with Black Lives Matter LA. The venue is home to live events, meetings, and organizing drives for Black-led community-based organizations. It is also the base of operations for Black Lives Matter LA. Built on what used to be a nuisance property owned by an arms dealer, the BLM Center for Black Power is in the heart of Leimert Park and has opened its doors to everything from youth organizers to toy drives to film screenings and community town hall meetings. To make a donation or make a request, please visit blmla.org. That's blmla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like nuclear reactor safety expert.
I disabled the backup cooling system. It was making such an annoying noise. You heard it, right? It was like,
We're on a countdown to core failure.
And you're saying we don't want that?
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on our show, The Faith Not the Fall, with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. Our very special guest in this hour has been Wayne Swanson from Swanson Family Farm LLC, which was established in 2008. And he is teaching us how to fish on this show and in this program. Madam President, a few final questions for President Swanson. And then at the end of our show, Mr. Swanson, we ask our guest to offer us a 3-minute word of hope. So hopefully you'll start working on that in your mind before we get to that, Madam President.
Sure. I love this your Farmer Wayne tag, so I'm going to call you Farmer Wayne. I think there's something beautiful about your claiming that identity and the power that's associated with it. You know, I can't think of a single church in my denomination that doesn't at some point have something that looks like a food pantry, or they're feeding the homeless. They're doing something like that. How could a church, be it the Black church or even beyond, kind of plug into the networks that you're involved in and support the distribution ultimately?
The easiest thing is to everybody go outside of the church and look around, and let's see what land is near that church, because you may not need to do the dried macaroni and cheese. You may be able to have a chicken coop that can hold 40 birds, and with 40 hens, we can run an egg operation for the 2 or 3 zip codes around that church with 40 hens.
Wow.
We can do collard greens for seasonal food. We can do planting a little bit, an acre, maybe an acre and a half, because I can guarantee you in every Black church in America, there is a master gardener, whether they are certified or not. There is someone in that church who gardens and has a love for plants. We need to use our churches the way we used to use them, as hubs, not just for soccer, for baseball, and for bingo, but for food.
Yeah. This sounds like it's going just a step beyond what we think of as a community garden, right? That you would, community gardens are usually, somebody on the block or somebody at the church are raising fruit and vegetables, but the idea of land and animals and generating other kinds of food products, be it dairy or meat or whatever, it sounds like that would be a time to connect with Swanson Family Farm to learn how to do that better. Does that make sense, that a church would reach out to you to become trained and figure out how they would make a sort of a working concern out of something like that?
Yes, but I want you to understand that, we serve a wonderful and powerful God.
Yes.
When you plant that peach tree and you give that peach tree everything that it needs, get out the way.
Get out the way. Yeah.
The peaches are coming. If you did everything that you're supposed to do, get out of the way, you're going to have a crop of peaches. And then you bring in the mothers of the church to teach the young how to make peach preserves and how to can the peaches. Now we just added value-added products and a source of income for a group of people. We have it's not as we don't want everything to be Walmart.
Right.
We want some church that's got in the South, particularly the number of churches that have working pecan trees, 3-4 of them on the right now, that somebody's complaining about because they didn't pick up the pecans and rake them up last year because they don't see them as a viable product, because pecans come shelled and ready at the grocery store. No, they're in Black churches from Maryland all the way to Louisiana, to Texas. And we have
that's really
church. We don't need to see it as, Farmer Wayne likes money. He would love to be able to sell those services, but they're not for sale. Mother Nature has given us, God has given us these. We just have to be able to take it, not from we're not raping agriculture. We're using what was given. That means we're not going to feed everybody all the time, but in its season.
In its season,
we can take a little something off of this bill because we're only going to use our pecans for our pecan pie or for our peanut brittle sale, and we can plan ahead. Next year, we know we're going to have a bumper crop. We put whatever we need to put down. If we're going to fertilize, if we're going to trim, and be ready. We've stopped getting ready as a people. Yeah. We need to start planning again and getting ready.
It's powerful. It's powerful. I may have to reach out. I think there are ministers that I would love to get you in front of them to share your ideas and create some connections. This is good stuff.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here and I ain't scared. So let's go.
Neither am I, Farmer Wayne. Neither am I.
Let's go. Let's go.
We always ask our guests at the top of the hour to offer us a word of hope, and we would really appreciate it from you, a man who uses his hands to touch the soil, who takes advantages of the seasons that God has given us. That's evidence of a very structured life, a very disciplined life that responds to the spirit energy of everything around us. Brother Swanson?
Yeah, I want to add for my people that as we are learning to connect to the land, that understand that there is nothing new, there's nothing foreign, there's nothing scary here, and I want you to just reach out and touch something. Get a shovel when you go home, dig a small little hole in your yard. If you see small, we call them livestock under the soil. I can't remember the brother who coined that term, but he did. It's not mine. And if you see life under the soil, you're ready to plant something. If you know that you've been spraying chemicals in your yard and chemicals everywhere and you don't see any life under there, ask yourself why you don't want to live. Because anything that you kill next to you is eventually going to kill you. This is where the cancer is going to come from. So I want everybody to touch their ground near them, plant something. I don't care if it's in a bucket. Plant something, get started, touch it, feel it, taste it. What you plant at your home is going to taste 10 times better than anything I can plant, anything the store will grow, anything that your neighbor will grow, because you have the love and the tenderness and you've talked to it, you nurtured it, you watered it, you made sure it was ready to go. So I want all of us to go ahead and take time to just touch Mother Nature again. Amen. We lost that touch. We don't go to the river anymore. And there's rivers all around us. We don't put our feet in there anymore. We don't walk on the grass anymore. You got to walk on the grass. You got to get your feet dirty. Let some of these things happen. I don't know if that was time, but that's what I tell people.
We appreciate you, Brother Swanson. God bless you and look forward to having you back on the program. We're going to go through that whole network the next time we have you on our show.
That's right.
Good.
Madam President, thank you for joining us.
Amen. Thanks for having us, Farmer Wayne. And seriously, there are connections I would love to make. You've hit on economic justice, sustainability, creation justice, all of those things. So thank you, sir, for all you're doing.
We live it.
Tomorrow on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Yvonne Renee Davis, globally recognized leadership trainer and public government relations affairs strategist, will be our very special guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Tenacious Tuesday. Very much looking forward to talking to Sister Davis. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Richmond, Virginia.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.